Hello friends, welcome. Friends, if you recall that I have been doing a series on auction, the forthcoming auction, and trying to take you through the various strategies that the operators are going to adopt in the forthcoming auction and why they will adopt. And yeah, I'm using this application that I wrote few months back to describe the strategy and give you reasons why the operators are going to adopt a particular strategy. Yesterday, I did a video on 600 megahertz band, why it is important. So today, what I'm planning to do is I'm going to focus on Reliance Jio strategy and why Reliance Jio is going to adopt a particular strategy, and if they acquire spectrum, what will be the implication on the cost and the outflow on the company. And if I get time, I will add Vodafone Idea also in this video. But if the video goes longer, then I will skip that and I will have a next video for Vodafone Idea. Now let's look at band by band. So what I've done is that I've chosen the 700 megahertz band, the spectrum map. Now the colors that you see is representing a particular operator, which you see here: the government, Reliance Jio, red color, PSNL, railways, and vacant. Vacant is pink color. Now, so in order to get a strategy, what the operator is going to adopt is it is important to look at the expiry map. Expiry means how much time the operators will take for the spectrum to expire. So if I do a yearly trend, you will find that Reliance Jio's 10 megahertz spectrum will expire in 18.7 years. Therefore, there is no way Reliance Jio is required to participate in the auction from the point of view of expiry of the spectrum as per as 700 megahertz spectrum band is concerned, because this is a very new spectrum which they acquired in the last auction only. Now, what additional opportunity Reliance Jio has to acquire additional spectrum? So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose an operator, that is Reliance Jio, and then on top of it, which will overlay the vacant spectrum. Now, if you see, the vacant spectrum that is available in the 700 megahertz band is 5 megahertz in each of the circles. Reliance Jio already has 10 megahertz, so they can acquire additional 5 megahertz spectrum to make their kitty to 15 megahertz, because that will enhance their 5G services capability significantly, right? By another, because today they have got 10 megahertz, so it will become 15 megahertz. Now, what is the implication on the price? So that is important to look at. If they acquire additional 5 megahertz spectrum, how much outflow that they have to incur, right? So for that, what I'll do, I'll take you through the auction map and then I will choose the reserve price of the last auction. So if you look at the auction reserve price, which is listed here for 700, it started with 11,485 crores per megahertz in 2016, and then in 2021 it reduced to 6,581, and now in the last auction it got reduced to 3,927 crores per megahertz. So if let's assume that the price remains the same, 3,927 crores per megahertz, so it becomes 3,927 crores multiplied by 5. So they have to choose a price of 19,635 crores. They have to basically, the outflow would be 19,635 crores that they have to pay, right? So that is what their implication would be as per as for the need to participate in this spectrum auction, right? Now, okay, so now let's go to the next band. So 700 you understood, they have to pay around 20,000 crores per megahertz. Now let's go to the next band, which is 800 megahertz. Now we'll do the same thing for 800 megahertz band also. Let's look at the spectrum map first. So this red one is Reliance Jio. So I'll filter out Reliance Jio and see how much spectrum Reliance Jio has so this is the amount of spectrum that they have, right? So the configuration might have changed because this is an old frequency map. They might have done some reharmonization. So this backend spots they might have filled and moved the backend to the other side. This is basically not backend, this is ARCOM. They might have. So those reorganization, just ignore that, because this was an old application. Some changes might have happened which has not been incorporated, but that does not matter. The strategy will not change because of the harmonization which they might have done. Now let's do the same thing which I did, the expiry map. Now if I do expiry map and then I choose yearly trends, you will find that as far as, and then I'll choose operator, which is Reliance Jio. So you'll find that Reliance Jio, none of the spectrum which is they have acquired is expiring in near term. Because if you see, the earliest that it is going to expire is 12.08 years. And then it will expire till 19.31 years. So this is the x-axis, which tells you how much time the spectrum, each of the spectrum, and you will see that every cell has got a certain number embedded into it. That is the quantum of spectrum that is going to expire in that particular circle in 12.08 years. Like that, 7.5 megahertz spectrum of Reliance Jio is going to expire in 12.08 years in Mumbai. Like that, you have to read this chart. Right? The total spectrum that is going to expire in 12.08 years is 55 megahertz. So there is no urgency for Reliance Jio to pick up any more spectrum in 800 megahertz band, because none of their spectrum is expiring. Right? However, what is the opportunity to get additional spectrum? So let's look at that opportunity. So if I do a frequency map and then they overlap Reliance Jio on top of vacant, you will see that lot of spectrum is available for them to pick up. Now, will they pick up 800 megahertz additional spectrum? In my view, they shouldn't, because it does not give them any advantage. It's only going to enhance their 4G services, because they will not be able to aggregate this spectrum with their 700 megahertz spectrum in order to raise their 5G capability, because of the reason which I explained to you in the 600 megahertz video. Because what happens is that when we have two spectrum bands close to each other passing through a duplexer, which is attached after the signal comes out from the antenna, RF signal is entering from the antenna, it goes to the duplexer, and then from there it basically goes to the electronics for processing. When the RF frequency for two different bands are close to each other, it becomes very difficult for the duplexer to separate those signals, from each other without incurring any loss. So there will be a loss of 1 to 2 dB, which might shrink the overall coverage of the network, resulting in the shrinkage of 5G as well as 4G coverage together, which may not be in their interest. But if they want to expand their capacity of 4G spectrum, then probably they might pick up the 800 megahertz spectrum, because if there is a capacity constraint in 4G, they might pick up. But everybody is going and migrating to 5G. All the high paying customers are migrating to 5G. So what is the point in expanding the 4G coverage or capacity, enhancing the 4G capacity? I don't think so. But if they plan to pick up 5 megahertz spectrum in 800 megahertz band, what will be the implication? Let's look at that. So for that, I'll go to the auction map and then I will look at the reserve price, the last reserve price. So you'll find the reserve price of the 800 megahertz in the 2022 auction was 3,620. So 3,620, if I multiply 3,620 multiplied by 5 megahertz, let's say on an average they pick up 18,000 crores. So 20,000 crores of 700, 18,000 crores of 800, what is the point? 40,000 crores spending in the auction is of no sense. So I don't think that there is an urgency for Reliance Jio to pick up spectrum either in 800 or in 700 megahertz band. They should keep the spectrum as it is for the future, because once the 5G services picks up, there will be next auction, and the next auction they can pick up 700 megahertz. 800, I think it will lie waste, and that is the reason I have been saying from the very beginning that the 800 megahertz spectrum should have been given to BSNL rather than basically giving BSNL 700 megahertz spectrum. 800 megahertz spectrum, if that spectrum was given to BSNL, it would have created much more value for our country. Why? Because this spectrum anyway is lying vacant. There is economies of scale which is available in this particular spectrum of devices. It would have been easy for BSNL to take customers in 800 megahertz if they had 800 megahertz spectrum, and they did 4G in 800 megahertz than doing 4G in 700, because in 700 the ecosystem of 4G does not exist. That is the low-end devices, less than 4K, 4,000 rupees. Those devices do not exist, and BSNL will like to acquire those kind of customers in the rural areas, right? So it's complete waste of resources, right? This is going to lie vacant. The 700 megahertz, if it had cleared, if I go to 700 megahertz band, imagine if the 700 megahertz spectrum BSNL was not given that, Reliance would have got an opportunity to get another 10 megahertz of spectrum in near future. So their 5G capacity would have increased significantly, right? Because I told you yesterday in the 600 megahertz video that today Reliance Jio has got 10 megahertz, 5 megahertz, then another 5 megahertz they would have picked. They would have got 20 megahertz, or they could have picked full 25 megahertz spectrum in near future, maybe after 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. That would have enhanced the capacity of 5G, their 5G significantly, and Bharti would have picked 600. So both the operators would have sufficient low frequency spectrum, and it would have been good for both the operators as well as for the consumers. So it was such a mess that you gave BSNL 700 megahertz spectrum instead of 800 megahertz spectrum, because they are doing anyway 4G, and they would have done easily 4G in 800 megahertz spectrum very easily, which is already there in most of the circles. There are a lot of spectrum available in 800, which does not make any sense for Reliance Jio to pick up, because that would enhance their 4G capacity, and they are anyway moving to 5G, right? So let's look at now 1800 megahertz band. Now in 1800 megahertz band, if I look at the frequency map, and then I filter out and I do expiry map, and I then do let's say yearly trends, here also you will find the same situation. Let me do RGO. Let me filter out by RGO. So you will also find there is not a single circle where their spectrum is expiring. The earliest is expiring is 11.05 years. So what is the point? This is complete. There is no need for Reliance Jio to pick up. But if they want to enhance capacity, let's do a frequency map, and then spectrum map, and then lay out the vacant spectrum on top of Reliance Jio. So let's say, let me just take Reliance Jio, and then let me just take the vacant spectrum also on top of it. So let's see what is the opportunity Reliance Jio has. Now this again is 4G spectrum, right? This is not a 5G spectrum. So you'll find whatever vacant spectrum is there, let's say this particular circle, Haryana, there's a lot of vacant spectrum is there. But what is the point, right? Why would Reliance Jio pick up any additional spectrum, right, in 1800 megahertz band? Because this is already sufficient, and this is all for 4G spectrum. This is not 5G spectrum. So I think this spectrum is also going to go waste. Nobody is going to pick up this spectrum, most probably, because for Reliance Jio it does not make any sense, because nothing is expiring, right? And if I do and see the price of this band, what is the price? So if you do the reserve price, then you will see that the last reserve price was 2116. So, but anyway, 5 megahertz is not available in all the circles, so you have to do band specific or circle specific calculation. But if assume that there is 5 megahertz, anybody has to pick up on an average. So this is again going to cost them how much? Around 10,000 crore rupees plus 11,000 crores, 10 to 11,000 crores. So it's also not a very cheap spectrum. Now this is regarding Reliance Jio, because Reliance Jio does not have any spectrum in 2100 megahertz. 2300, again the story lies the same. Nothing is expiring. So if you go do an expiry map there, and if you do a yearly trend, you will find that nothing is expiring as per Reliance Jio is concerned. The earliest that is going to expire in 7 years, right? So here also there is nothing that they need to pick up. Sorry, let me just do Reliance Jio first. That would really make sense. So Reliance Jio is, 20 megahertz is going to expire in 6.99 years. Then 10 megahertz is going to expire in 13.23 years. And then another 10 megahertz and 20 megahertz is going to expire in 17.66 years. So there is no urgency here. And rest of the spectrum band, 3300 and 26 gigahertz, they have just acquired recently. So there is also no point as far as them acquiring. So as far as this auction is concerned, they should go a duck as far as Reliance Jio is concerned, unless they want to acquire that additional 5 megahertz spectrum in 700 megahertz band. Because let's do 26 gigahertz band. That also will give. Is there any need for Reliance Jio to acquire spectrum in 5G bands? Oh, there is a problem here with my tool. Let me just see if what happened. So I have to fix this. In the 26 gigahertz band, there is a problem. I think there is something which has gone wrong. Let me reboot the application. If 26 gigahertz does not work, I will fix the tool later, and I will take you through 26 gigahertz later. Let's see, 26 gigahertz band. Yeah, so there is a problem there. So I'll fix the tool and I'll take you through the 26 gigahertz band later. Okay, so that's all Reliance Jio is all about. Let's see if 35 gigahertz band is working. 3500 megahertz band is working. Okay, so there is a problem in 3500 megahertz band also. So the higher frequency band, 35 and 26 gigahertz band, looks like there has been some problem with the tool. I will fix that and I will come back to you later on that. Okay, so that's all about Reliance Jio, and I'll come back. I'll do a separate video on Vodafone Idea because already 15 minutes have passed, so it will be better for me to do a separate video. Thank you very much for your patient listening. I'll come back to you with the next video on Vodafone Idea as part of this series.